Welcome to Inside Pitch here at the Post-Dispatch, STLtoday.com. I'm Jeff Gordon with columnist Lynn Worthy. And Lynn, there's some pitching issues kind of popped up on the road trip. Started well, didn't end so well, and they've got some real concerns as this team tries to get to the All-Star break in one piece, especially with Erick Fedde.
Yeah, Fedde's recent starts have been really rough. I mean, the last three heading into this last week before the All-Star break, he's only given them 10 innings. I think he's given up, I want to say it's 17 earned runs. I mean, I think he had fewer strikeouts in those three starts than, Sonny Gray had in the first inning of his last start. So it's just looking rough. Not giving him length, not getting swing and miss, not recording a whole lot of outs. It's just, to the point where, he's starting to question whether or not it's time to make the move and bring Michael McGreevy up, because it seems like that's inevitable that he's going to join this rotation at some point. And now it raises the question, is now the time to just make that swap? Of course, you'd like to think that Fedde's a guy that they might be able to trade, and the only way that you're going to be able to trade him and get something for him is for him to continue the pitch and to show something representative for teams that might want to go potentially get him.
Yeah, there's a lot of push-pull here. There's always, are you going to sell, are you going to buy? You're going to sell a little, sell a lot, buy a little, probably not buy a lot. But the ideal plan was that Erick would build up his trade value, stay healthy, and you could move him if you weren't in the chase and get a nice return. Well, he stayed healthy, as has Miles Mikolas, who's had really good stretches himself. But, boy, to your point, you've got this dilemma. If the front office would want this guy to be marketed, the field manager is really trying to win every game, and that's his job. That's a really tough push-pull for the organization.
Yeah, and and even with Mikolas, people group them together because they both have had some really recent struggles. But Mikolas, you go back to even, I think it was early April into May, he had a stretch of starts where you can look at that and say, well, if he can give us something like this down the stretch, you can use that. You can maybe use that to keep you in a playoff race where, like he had a 7-start stretch where they won 6 of those, and he went 4-0, and his ERA was under 3. And I'm not saying he's going to do that for an extended period, but if he can give you some of that, you can use that to stay in a playoff race. But Fedde giving you 10 innings over 3 starts, that's just hurting the bullpen. That's not giving you a chance to win games. That's a completely different story.
Another issue that's important for this year and the wild card hopes, but also going forward, the team's inability to hit left-handed pitching. Ivan Herrera's going to be back after the All-Star break, and he's been a big help when healthy. Nolan Arenado hopes to be healthier. The break will help him too with his shoulder. But even with those guys, this wasn't a great team hitting against left-handed pitching, and with them, either Nolan struggling, hurt, Ivan hurt, boy, it's been rough.
Yeah, and recently, I think for the season even now, within this last week, whatever, they're ranked like the bottom third in batting average against left-handed pitching. The slugging percentage even lower against left-handed pitching. You'd like to think a guy like Jordan Walker would be a guy that you'd say, hey, that's a big bat that could help against left-handed pitching, but that hasn't happened this season. And now he's in the minors trying to figure out some things with his swing and get his timing back. Herrera is probably not going to be back with the team until after the All-Star break, but he was a big bat that can help with that. So it makes you think that might be something that they could possibly explore at the trade deadline. But again, the trade deadline is a whole issue into itself with this team that's trying to prepare for the future and wasn't really expecting to contend this season.
Well, a positive, we've got to give one little positive note here. Alec Burleson is held up, and as Brendan Donovan has, those guys have to face a lot of left-handed pitching. Not too many breaks for those guys because this team needs offense. So those two guys on the long list of things you're happy about, or a short list, depending on your perspective, they're right there.
Yeah, Brendan Donovan making his first All-Star appearance. He's had a tremendous season. Whether that was when he was in the middle of the lineup and now he slid back into that leadoff spot, he's been one of, if not the most consistent bat that they've had all season. That's left-handed or right-handed pitching. So that's a positive. Alec Burleson coming off of last season where there was periods where he was one of your only consistent power bats, has followed up on that even after the beginning of this season where he was sort of the odd man out on the musical chairs, wasn't getting everyday playing time. Now he is, and he's producing. So those are definitely positives for them. They both happen to be left-handed, which again underscores some of the things that they've had against left-handed pitching.
All right, last thing on this edition of Inside Pitch, the Cardinals have the 5th overall pick in the draft on Sunday. A lot of good college pitching available for the Cardinals at that spot, as well as some really interesting high school hitting prospects who currently play shortstop. Those are the two primary choices, one nearer term help than the other. Your thoughts on the draft and what might be the thought process for the organization?
Well, my first thought is if you're going to be able to get pitching, to, particularly maybe some college pitching that's closer to being able to help you. If you're able to get that and bolster one of the big weaknesses in the minor league, farm system right now, then that's the way that you have to go, as opposed to hitters that are going to be maybe 4 or 5 years away, and you're going to have to figure out where they fit in with the group that you already have or the group that's also coming right now. The pitching right now is a numbers game. A lot of the primary prospects they've had have either been injured or have had setbacks. And really, you need to have, a group of 10 plus to be able to think you're going to get, a couple out of that group. And right now, a lot of that group that they do have is hurt. So adding to that, I think, would be my main objective. But we'll see how they go. I think that it would be interesting to see what they do, because if they go younger, then it probably raises the question, is like, okay, whose decision is that? Because you've got Mo on his way out and Heim on his way in, and a long-term decision you would think would be a Heim thing, but it'll be interesting to see which way they go and what that tells us about who's making the decision.
Well, that's Lynn Worthy. I'm Jeff Gordon. This is Inside Pitch. Reminder to stay tuned here to the digital edition of the St. Louis Post-Dispatch at stltoday.com for all kinds of extra content. We got chats, we've got blogs, we got lots of cool stuff. Keep coming back. We'll have lots of coverage all season long here on stltoday.com. Until next time, see you later.